My name is Brian Murray. I am the founder of the VoV Network, and got a co-partner here today, and that's Bridget Kinney from she's Building Bridges Outreach. And we're going to be doing a series actually on this moving forward for this particular topic. And then we have some other great things also planned. Bridget, anything else you want to add on top of that to let them know?
You've already introduced me. I am Bridget Kinney. I'm the founder and director of Building Bridges Mentor and Outreach Program, and also Beautiful Girls. And I am excited about this collaboration.
Awesome.
How to increase mental bandwidth. Before I read the first one, I'm going to raise my hand and say that I struggle with that. Eliminate thoughts that focus on other people's problems. That has been like a big one for me. And I read this somewhere, and it just spoke to me. And that's what I've been trying to build my hard conversations with. And it said, and I believe that the best conversation that you could have with someone who is telling you their problem or their situation should be, what do you think you should do?
Mm-hmm.
Or what do you think should happen? When I read it, I was like, wow, that's not how I lead those conversations. Mm-hmm. I'm already in my head thinking, how can I be of service? Mm-hmm. And so eliminating those thoughts that focus on other people's problems will definitely, increase your mental bandwidth, and it will it will raise some of that negative energy that you have loading into your mind.
100%. And then go on to number 2, because those two tie together, and I have a comment that I would definitely want to make for that.
Right. And I will say again, I know that this is hard for me, especially as a parent of grown kids, which we both are, and a parent, period, really. We go automatically into fix-it mode. Who agrees, who disagrees, but we have to speak those words in order to strengthen our own mental bandwidth, in order to handle our own difficulties, And so the next one, abort any thoughts of situations that you can't control.
Yeah, all I can do is shake my head.
Let me just say this. I believe that we should all adopt the serenity prayer. Not just AA, we should all adopt that prayer. And I'm not talking about put it on our mirror in our room on the calendar. I'm talking about we need to memorize that serenity prayer, especially the part that says the wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom to know the difference. And that's where we make that left turn, is to not know the difference between what we can control and what we can't control. So we need to accept those situations that are out of our control, and delegate those situations to something outside of ourselves, like a higher power. Mm-hmm. We cannot play that role.
Cannot, absolutely. Bridget, that's actually for me, it's one of the key things that I've learned in my life, talking about controlling situations or what you can't control. And we can actually do a whole session on that alone, because I have some great techniques and some things that I can certainly share to help people along that road. But yeah, I have a big star on my notes talking about this point, focusing on, what it is that you can control. And from a mental bandwidth standpoint, the key there is to identify what those things are that you can. So I always look at it at 3 simple levels. You have what I have 100% control over, what I have some influence over, and then what I have 0 control or influence over. So figuring out, first of all, which one of those 3 categories, whatever the situation falls into. Then you say, all right, from a mental bandwidth, energy, effort, however you want to break it down, 80-20 rule. Take 20% of your energy, put that into the things that you have some influence and some control over. The other 80%, which is obviously the lion's share, you focus all of that on what you have 100% control over. Those things that you have 0 control, 0 influence, I know it's hard. You've got to be able to just put them down, because you have 0 influence and 0 control.
You need to send me all of that you just said.
I
because
have
I
I have it
do.
in a chart actually.
You
So
do need to send me that chart because
yeah,
I will be the one to say yes. And anybody else that agrees with me, I will be the one to say, yeah, I am. And we talked about this in another situation, how sometimes we want to control this selfishly, not so that it won't end well, it'll end well for other people. So, but also, so if it doesn't end well with them, I mean, we don't want to be in responsible for it not ending well for someone, or it may fall on us again if that decision does not end well for them. So there we're selfish, right? We don't want to be any part of this. So let me make that decision for them. So
yeah,
we know how it's going to end.
yeah, absolutely
Katina,
right.
thank you. Katina. Controlling the narrative as a single mother has been the norm. What I have learned in this season of my life, what that looks like changes, and I can only control me. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's one thing you have 100% control over, believe it or not, is self. So
Itself. And that is something that we need to continually to remind ourselves that we cannot do that. And like I said, that serenity prayer, it's going to work for me. And when I read it again, and I was like, we need to all adopt that, not adopt this, not just in AA, but as it's the humans, because
mhm,
we get those lines, so we get those lines crossed, and especially for me, the wisdom to know the difference between what I can and cannot control and what I can't, what I have to accept. Create a mental energy checklist with a realistic timeline. A mental energy checklist. That is monumental because we put a checklist and we organize our daily work plans, our household duties. We organize these according to a checklist. So let's write down the steps and plans needed to create mental energy. And I never really thought about mental energy because we just it just comes. We just make a decision. We
right.
just think about something. We may make a snap decision. We may make a responsible decision. We may not make the decision at all, but it just comes to us, right? And so we don't create that mental, how that's going to affect that mental energy, and be
Mhm,
realistic about the timeline. Let's avoid that one more thing to stress us out.
mhm.
Right. Okay. Well, I said I was gonna, I didn't meet that. Let's make a realistic timeline to that. And tell us how you create a mental energy checklist. Tell us how
Mhm.
you do that.
Yep.
Allison said, for me as a parent of adult children, I've learned to let go of what I can't control. And that is, I don't see the rest of that. Do you see that? So,
She
yeah,
says she says, and that is a great feeling.
a great feeling. It is a very great feeling. Because as parents, we like I said, we go into a fix it mode, and we feel some kind of way when we walk away from that conversation. But it saves space for our own issues, our own problems that we have to deal with. And so
Indeed, it does.
mental energy checklist.
Yep.
The next one, carve out time in your day, week to devote time to what matters most. And that, I guess that mental energy checklist goes hand in hand with carving out time of your day and week to devote to what matters most. Give yourself real mental and emotional time to devote to your personal life, health. What are your hand raising?
Yep,
Because
my
what?
hand is up. My hand is up
Because what?
because I want to add two words to that. So I love because I love this, but this is one. So at the very end, what matters most to you,
You. What
right?
matters
Because
most to
again,
you.
this goes back to where we were earlier about pleasing others and this, that, and the other thing. So yeah, you've carved out this time and you're devoting it to what matters most. But then if you're still really taking that time to truly get focused on delivering what others need, you're not having that self-care moment that you really need. And that's really what this is focused to. So if anything you want to add to that, just say matters most to you and devote
Right.
that time to it.
Right. And like I was saying, give yourself, and while you say to you, while you say that, I'll say, give yourself real mental, emotional time and devote that to your personal health. right? Your personal health, not making sure the kids get to the doctor or making sure, spouse, does what they do, what they need to do, devoted to your personal health, and to your family time. Now that's not, and you pick what you want to devote that time to, not get, the kids don't get to pick it, or the spouse doesn't get to pick it. You pick what you want to devote that mental and emotional time to, and do anything that gives you a sense of peace and joy. And as I've said before, be intentional about it. Ask yourself, what does that mental and emotional time look like to me? And this will allow you time to not only show up authentically for yourself, but also to show up authentically for others.
That's correct. Absolutely.
And I like to comment, my mental energy is staying in the present and not looking back on things that are negative. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not going that way. Don't look back there, because you're definitely not going that way.
Yeah. That's not the direction. You can't change it now. So let's stay in the present and focus on what's going to happen in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the last one, pay attention to burnout warning signs. I think we just live busy lives, right? And it's busy, and we even live busier social lives. And so use self-care in any capacity as a necessary tool. Be aware of those days that, those off days, when you just don't feel yourself, right? Pay attention to that, and be body conscious, internally and externally. Our body speaks to us inside and out. Oh, my face is breaking out. Oh, I'm getting these rashes. Sometimes we go straight to, well, what kind of washing detergent did I use? Or, oh, I'm getting this on my leg. And we say, well, I know I've been drinking this differently. No, sometimes it's just your body is burnt out.
Mm-hmm. The stresses of
all of that mental and emotional stuff
is going on. Absolutely.
Sometimes you're just stressed out. You're breaking out. You're in rashes because you're stressed out. You don't have to have a stroke or have to have Bell palsy or have to have these other illnesses to for your body to let you know you need to sit down somewhere, basically. So pay attention to those burnout warning signs. What does that look like to you? And have you noticed, while we're talking, some burnout warning signs? Mm-hmm. Have you noticed those things? And what are you going to do? What mental energy checklists are you going to make now so that you can take care of those warning signs?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.